Going live.
Thank you, councillors. It is my duty to notify those present at the meeting this evening that the meeting will be digitally recorded and made publicly available through the council's website. Digital recordings are conducted in accordance with Regulation 33 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations and the council's own digital recording policy. Welcome to you all, and we start with the acknowledgement of country. The Central Coast Council acknowledges and pays respect to the traditional owners of Lutruwita, Tasmania, the Palawa Pakana people. We acknowledge the Punalapana tribe of this northern country, and in doing so, we celebrate one of the world's oldest continuing cultures. Moving to item 1.1, which is the confirmation of the minutes for this Development Support Special Committee meeting that was held on the 27th of March 2023. Could I have somebody move that the minutes are correct, please? Thank you, Councillor Dipro, seconded Councillor Viney. Any discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye. Aye. Against? The motion is carried. Item 2.1 is the chairperson's communications. And the suggested resolution is that the chairperson's report be received. Could I have somebody move that the report be received, please? Thank you, Councillor Bestwick, seconded Councillor Carpenter. Any discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Declared carried. 3.1 is declarations of interest. Members are required to indicate whether they have or are likely to have a pecuniary or conflict of interest at any item on the agenda. Are there any declarations to be made? No, thank you. Item 4.1, in order to effectively consider the reports before this meeting, the meeting of the committee, I'll adjourn this meeting to enable the related documents for our workshopping prior to the resumption of the meeting and formal resolution of the agenda items. So I will adjourn the meeting accordingly and open it for discussion. On item 6.1, which is residential, multiple dwellings by 2, residential density for multiple dwellings at 14 Overall Street, Sulphur Creek. Any discussion there, councillors?
Mayor, I acknowledge the representation that they were seeking shadow drawings, but the planning scheme is pretty explicit in that area. The people that have done the design have fitted it into the building envelope where there's no need for that, and they're not even really close to it, especially because it's only got one little protrusion at the back, which is nearly outside the envelope. But yeah, so I'm happy with what the planners have come up with. Yeah.
Thank you. Other speakers?
Yeah, it's just a curiosity question comment, Mayor. Even though they fit in the envelope, and this is probably something we're going forward, look in the planning, whether there is still shading that might occur. And I can feel for people that, that might perceive there is going to be shading, but just because the scheme allows the buildings in the envelope, it gets a tick and goes through. I have no issue with the system the way it is. We're looking sometimes down the track. There still could be quite a substantial amount of shading. I'm not sure, but just often wonder that it's something we should refer later on down the track to try and allow those people. These, we might see in the future of 3-story buildings fitted in the envelope. So if we're not in front of the curve, we're going to have a lot of issues in future. That's just a comment, but yeah, totally support this in its present form.
I suppose a clarifying question might be a reminder about Councillor Hiss, if you might sit down the back for us, please. Thank you. A clarifying question might be about the determination of the envelope.
Just for probably a little bit of clarity from the building industry side of things, the beauty of it is it wouldn't matter if it was 3 stories high, that 45-degree angle, you've still got to fit it inside. And then there is a maximum height. So you've got 3 metres on the boundary, 45 degrees up to 8.5 metres. So it doesn't really matter how high it is if you can fit in that envelope. At least it's getting the sun that's coming in at an angle. it's always a bit tricky when you've got a north-south street, and so every house has got somebody that's building on their northern boundary.
Indeed.
So I'm pretty happy. I don't think we could really go outside that. Not that many properties do come up that, you know, some of them are just a little protrusion.
Might just stop you there. We are focused obviously in the development that is in front of us. Darryl, did you wish to make any comment related, a broad comment in relation to the building envelope in response to Councillor Carpenter's thoughts?
Thanks, Mayor. Only to reiterate that I think Councillor Carpenter's suggestion that we look into these things moving forward is a useful one, but he's also right when he acknowledges that, as the planners have spelled out in the report, we can't look at that. The development needs the acceptable solution in that regard.
Yep.
Thank you. That's great. Other discussion, if any, in relation to overall street?
Just
Councillor
comment. I believe the planners report is very thorough, and I like the way that it has answered the representations that have been made in this particular case. And as a further comment, well, we've been talking about additional housing, etc., within the municipality, and this puts extra people on a block. So,
Indeed, it does. Councillor Diprose, did you have anything that you wanted to add whilst we were workshopping it, or are you comfortable with the report?
I'm comfortable with the report as it is, Mayor. Thank you.
And I am too, me.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're quite right. Thank you for reminding me of that. That's fabulous. Good. All right. If we are happy, then, sorry, just a procedural question from me. Are we workshopping both applications, or are we going back in? Yes, we are. Okay, good. So whilst we're in the workshop, in the adjourned part of the meeting, discussion about item 6.2, residential single dwelling at 46A Clara Street, West Ulston. Any discussion whilst we are in the adjourned part of the meeting about that? Taking guidance there.
Yeah.
Anything that we want to discuss in relation to 46A
What are you
Clara
looking at me
Street?
for?
Thought you were going to say something.
This is an interesting one, Mayor.
Yes.
And again, I think it's been dealt with properly by the planners. With the representation letter, when you view from up on top, you probably, you probably would say you won't see the colour scheme. Now, it's funny that sometimes you've got to build in places and you have a colour scheme, you've got to meet the palette of everywhere else, especially seems to happen out in the country when you want to put a roof on the shed and it's got to be green, blue or brown, nothing else. What? I'm going to support the motion. What happens, or what can you do if all of a sudden in some new neighbourhood, is it wrong? Do we have multicoloured buildings?
So you're questioning about how this.
We would feel going forward.
Yes. Yeah.
I support the motion. Once you support one and you let it through. So if someone down the main street with new houses around them, but you can't block the view with multicoloured panels, how are we going to view that? So that's not, no.
Just posing the question.
Yeah, posing the question.
Yes. Other comments, discussion?
Open it up for you now.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Carpenter. In certain circumstances, I probably would see it perhaps inappropriate, but it's one of those things where in the end it's personal expression, I guess. In this, directly into this application, I think the people up on the upper street are really probably, their view is more looking out over the top of, and I think, as is suggested, because of the prospective landslip, or to negate any potential landslip in this application, they've got plantings and so forth, which is going to screen the back end of the house, which is probably where the main colours are. In this instance, I think it's fine, and I'm happy to support what the planners have done.
Thank you. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Diprose.
well, other than the colour, my concern was basically with the review of the landslip assessment, but because it's been covered by engineering or the report by Tasman geotechnics, I'm happy to approve it on that basis. But that would be their liability, not ours.
Anything to add?
Just to the objectives, I must admit it would be a shock when you go look at something and you have those colours like put in front of you. However, looking at the report and seeing the proposed vegetation going ahead there should be fine. But I can certainly understand one's first initial reaction to seeing that colour scheme.
Different from what we might be accustomed to in the rest of the community. Yeah. All right. Well, if you're happy for us to move back into the formal meeting, if you're happy that that discussion has finished, I will make the point of going to item 5.1, which is deputations, just to confirm that no request for deputations to address the meeting have been made, and then moving formally to item 6.1. Which you have just discussed, which is multiple dwellings by 2 at 14 Overall Street, Sulphur Creek. Could I have somebody move then that the report be, the motion be accepted? Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Seconded, Councillor Viney. Councillor Carpenter, did you wish to speak any further to this one?
No, I think everything's been spoken about.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Declared it carried. And item 6.2, again, is what we were just discussing, which was the residential single dwelling at 46A in Clara Street. Could I have somebody move that resolution be?
So moved, Mayor.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Diprose. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to speak to that?
No, I think we've addressed everything in the adjourned area. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, I'll put the motion.
Can I just
Sorry.
say
I'm
something?
sorry. Yes, and firstly, my apologies.
No, I just think I've just been really excited to see this development come in, and the fact of how they've tried to do with the landscape.
Yep.
And do that, and I think that's really good, and that's just showing a bit of creativity to trying to deal with those issues, and I think that would be really great to see some of that continue into the future.
Yes, yes. Yeah, good, excellent point. Good. All right. All conversation finished then. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. That brings us to the end of our DSSC meeting for today, and thank you for your attendance.
No worries. I'll go home now.